You're all set. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome everyone, wherever you are. We're going to have a quick EDC meeting before, and I'd like to call this to order, by the way. It is 6:35. And we'll open it up to the Community Leaders Forum, which will be facilitated by EDC member Gina Savage, and with a presentation from EDC member Barry Curlin. And we'll have an open discussion. So I'll get through this little meeting and then we'll start. So I'm Sue DePisa, I'm chair of EDC. Just have a quick introduction of the EDC members and the liaisons, please. Whoever wants to start. Sorry.
Sure, I'll start. Hi, I'm Barry Curlin. I live in North Scituate, and I've been a member of the EDC. Actually, this is my first year. Joined in July. Good to meet you all.
Hi, I'm Susie Hofmeister. I'm vice chair of the EDC and I'm a member forever, I would say.
Susan DeLear. I have been a member, I guess this is my second year at EDC, and very excited, working actually the liaison to Cole Parkway.
Amy Liddell, I'm at the business in North Scituate, and I'm the North Scituate rep to the EDC.
I'm Gina Savage. I've been on the EDC since 2017.
I'm Shelley Swanson. This is my first year on the EDC as the liaison to the Greenbush neighborhood.
Great. Paul?
Hey, Paul Barkowitz. I've been a member since 2017.
Great. Thank you very much. Tonight we're happy to welcome people who have participated in the Community Leaders Forum since we first introduced it in December of 2022. We have high hopes to build a cohesive group of civic-minded leaders as well as business organizations and owners to help us communicate and work together effectively. And to first, hopefully tonight, identify the needs and goals of the group and then implement them. Recently, EDC worked with the town administration to develop a new funding application for those qualified organizations who are in need of funding. We're excited about this approach because we believe it helps EDC better define the financial needs of the business and nonprofit community. The application's online and on the EDC webpage on the town website. Our next conversation at EDC will be addressing how we hope to spend our budget and better define what the needs are for 2024 and 2025. So more to come on that. At many of our EDC meetings, there have been discussion about businesses coming and going in town, projects that are in discussion or already approved. And at the EDC members feel a little disconnected from the conversations, which are important to our business community and property owners and residents. I'm hoping we can reestablish our liaison relationship with the Planning Commission to give us an understanding of what's happening in town so we are not blindsided by questions that we don't have any information on. In all of our conversations, EDC is focused on being proactive as opposed to reactive to the people we serve. We have great respect for the select board and the town administrator, as well as everyone who works in the town at town hall. We're looking forward to working with the new communications director and hopeful that the other key roles in town will soon be filled. They'll all certainly benefit the residents and businesses in Scituate. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Karen, because I know you have another meeting, who is a liaison from the select board.
John and I both are going off to the bicycle commission.
Excellent.
Excellent. What you mentioned, just a few updates, the PR, the part-time communications manager started last Monday. Her name is Kathy Regan, and I've done everything I can not to overload her so she doesn't run screaming at the door, but that'll be a role that'll be very helpful in getting information out. I wanted to mention this group because you guys all know everybody in town, that there's a new committee, because we don't have enough, there's a new committee for the Mordecai Lincoln Historic Property. It was purchased by CPC funding. It's a beautiful piece of property in North Scituate. And we are soliciting, applications to join that, to figure out what the heck to do with it. I mean, there's a million ideas, but now we need action. So that's available. There's also, we have openings on the Board of Health and bylaw, committees. So I just wanted you guys to know that, if you could spread the word. As everyone knows, Front Street's a mess. And it is scheduled to be paved by Thursday. And then striping whenever, but the goal is to have it open for Halloween. So there's that. The businesses are open, it's just up down there, so plan time. And the last thing that I wanted to mention from the town level is if you didn't have a chance to see the North Scituate Beach Renourishment information meeting held right in this room. It's online. The cliff notes are, the whole project is north of $10 million. It's permitted, let me back up. The science is you put a lot of sand on a beach that has been eroded because of seawalls. I'll not get into the weeds, which is what I'm gonna do. And it won't stay there, but that's okay. It ends up getting pulled out, making a sandbar, which reduces sand wave action, and it migrates down the beach to protect other beaches. We don't have the full funding, so there's going to be about a third of the permanent project started shortly. Now, I knew I was supposed to look up the date, now I don't, but it'll be this winter.
January.
Yeah, they say too many dates in it.
Yeah.
In January. What's super important for EDC to be aware of is this project will be 3 months long. There will be 60 to 80 trucks a day coming from 3A down Gannett Road to the beach.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a
So our comms manager, that's one of the first things we're tasking her with is exactly your point. We do not want somebody going, what is going on? Because it's going to be disruptive. They are supposed to start after the school buses travel and darkness will get them off the road before it's too late. But it's a lot. So that's coming. So that's all I have.
Yeah, that was a surprise, when I was on the Zoom, and I was surprised at the number of trucks and that the job is happening. Not, we might do this, it's happening.
It's only taken 10 years.
Yeah. And again, I thought that the communication was a little lacking about that meeting. But fortunately, they did the Zoom at the last minute, which was great. And it's going to be interesting. I think it's great that they're doing it, but it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it will benefit the whole community, but it's gonna be quite something to see.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Good news is we done the whole project, it would have been 6 months.
Is there any thought, in looking at the light pattern on Gannett Road during that, if there's gonna be increased traffic? This is very sort of esoteric North Scituate right here, but the light is much longer generally on Countryway than it is on the Gannett.
That must be an
Yeah,
MBTA thing.
You know what, it's a traffic study thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, they, that's how they figure it out. They're like, okay, more people go this way, then they go this way, and
Well,
I know, it may not be true anymore, but at the time they did the signaling.
But I presumed that they did it that way because they assumed that there'd be more people coming from the parking lot.
I could see that.
That's, so coming off the train into their cars and heading into town. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, unfortunately, what they do is traffic studies are really interesting. They do it at a point in time. They don't project, because you can't project. So like the Drew project is required to do another traffic study after it's populated. To see, because you can guess, but, they don't know the data.
Right,
And that will revisit what happens in Greenbush, lighting and signaling and all that stuff.
right.
And so in this case, there's no sort of anticipatory changes that they might do
For the trucks,
given that there's gonna be increased traffic.
there will be police details, so it'll be real-time review. I don't know what the plans are, but they will have to it'll be part of the requirement. They had to bring a whole, how are we gonna get it from point A to point B plan, had to be approved, all that stuff. So those conversations happen with the lease
And-
is all.
And also, Corey said at the meeting that there will be updates moving forward
Yes.
about the project, so probably prior to. Okay. So, all right, anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Shall I ask you about the Scituate North Situate? Okay.
Well, we approved the, design, do we approve it at time? We will be, oh my gosh, I'm totally getting confused. We've been talking about it for so long.
I know.
We directed the town administrator to fund design for North Situate. And as he always likes to say, doesn't matter if it's tilting this way or this way, we're gonna do the design, whether it goes to Scituate or Cohasset.
Oh, I see.
And so those, plans are in the works, and I honestly don't, I think it's already funded. I think it was one of those votes a long time ago, and we're just getting around to it because we have a plan.
Okay.
So Kevin, the design, we started on the design now?
The board's direction was, we're tired of waiting for our neighbors to play nice,
Yes.
and that the community can't wait.
Mhm.
And we know that we can only send it to North Situate at this, to the sewer plant if we can create the capacity. But rather than, which we're doing, we're investing at Oceanside, which is gonna start soon in the spring. Should that be productive enough to, we don't wanna wait and see how that turns out and then start designing, because that's another 2 years. So the board said, let's start designing. And we're kicking, scratching, and clawing to get the state to help us with infrastructure investments, whether we do more I&I or we expand that plan. But we don't wanna wait.
Are you looking into MAPC funding and maybe help with funding too?
What was the last
The
one?
MAPC?
Well, they're in the next turn, I'm gonna go over there now. MAPC can help with the design and the
Yes.
feasibility for
Exactly.
sure. I don't know what Nancy is looking at for grants in that.
Mhm.
The design, and that's why I'm confused. I'm pretty sure we even approved it, the original design a long time ago.
Yeah.
We set those funds aside, probably because of the regional plan we thought was imminent.
Right.
And MAPC can't help us with what the big nut is, which is the actual, construction.
They can't,
So
but
that
design.
is where we're talking to the state and feds. Try to get some money for that.
Is there a timeline, do you think?
Not one that I would want to
Sure.
publicize
Yeah.
because there's
Okay.
so many variables.
Yeah, okay.
Most importantly, will we actually get the capacity?
Yeah.
Without it. So,
Okay.
we'll keep pushing.
All right. Thank you. How about we jump to Paul? Do you want to say anything about Shara?
Yeah, thanks. Good evening, everybody. So I'm chair of the Scituate Harbor Advisory Redevelopment Commission, which is developing the Pier 44 Park. We had a real important milestone on October 10th when the select board unanimously approved what's referred to as a Phase 3 contract with the Copley Wolf Design Group. This will complete the engineering, environmental review, permitting, and community outreach that will take us right up to developing bid documents for the actual construction. So we'll develop the final design. We're 30% design right now under Phase 2. The funding, the cost of this contract is $384,000. It's funded through a $100,000 grant we already received from Metropolitan Area Planning Council, MAPC, and $300,000 grant at the last fall town meeting through CPC. So we're a real important step in moving forward with the park, and really excited about it and happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Paul? Nope. Great.
I have one question.
Okay.
So Paul, it's very exciting, and I've seen the plans and they're on social media. I could not find the current concept on your website? Is it up there on your? If not, it would be great to get that up there.
Yeah, I'll check. We have the town website for our committee that has a link to a project website. And I'll check. It should be on the project website.
Okay, thanks, because folks are very excited about this.
Yeah, I'll check that. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Paul. Susan, do you
Cole
want to talk
Parkway.
about Cole Parkway, if there's anything to talk about?
Sure, I am the liaison, as I said, to Cole Parkway, sort of engineering project, which was funded by a grant to sort of look at the Cole Parkway end of that giant area on the water. There's a lot of water issues, stormwater coming up and obviously ocean coming in. And we did an RFP and had 4 folks responding to that, and at our last meeting, there was a choice between 2. They were interviewed by the chairperson and Corey from Coastal Management Department. And they chose Collins and Woodward, I believe. Give me a second, look it up, at Collins and Woodward. And tomorrow night, they're going to Corey, well, the committee unfortunately can't attend, but they're gonna be presenting to the select board. The findings and why they chose this organization, which when I was looking at the presentations, I thought this was the strongest myself, not that I even know what I'm even looking at frankly, but the idea is to figure out a way to engineer and do a bit, maybe build up the seawall there. One of the concerns is the fact that Mill Wharf parking lot is privately owned. So how do you marry this public funding project with a private area and make sure that one doesn't impact the other negatively? So that is a consideration that probably has to be taken into account. There is some part of a seawall there, but it does have to extend along, and obviously the concern was losing parking spaces and so all that stuff will come into play, but also to make it look nice and not just a giant parking lot.
Sure. Do you talk to the Millwolf Marina? I mean, it's just the other half of the parking lot, and if that gets still flooded, then.
Well, yeah, so Bob Warner, he is on our committee, and so he's sort of advocate, he owns that building still, I think. And so he's very involved and has a lot of history of the flooding and all. So there's, you have to get all the other tenants or owners involved to, I guess, come to an agreement, but I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Because they may not wanna pay to build up a seawall or whatever.
Right.
It'll be interesting.
Anybody have any questions for Susan? Okay. Let's move on. Gina, do you want to just talk about the grant application?
Sure, so, hi everyone, I'm Gina Savage again. So this year we are instituting a grant application for any funding requests that come to the EDC. We found that this will help us plan better for the fiscal year upcoming. At this moment, we only have one application that's been submitted for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which we will be discussing at the next meeting in November. And we just kind of wanted to put it out there again that this is the way we're going to be doing things moving forward, and a grant application will be posted on our website. If it isn't already, we will make sure it is up, and if you need it more immediately, you can reach out to any of us and we can send you the PDF. Yes.
What type of projects are you looking for that you would give a grant to?
So it would fall under the umbrella of everything that EDC has funded in the past. So typically for big events such as, Scituate Heritage Days or the St. Patrick's Day Parade, they've approached us to help cover the cost for police and fire details, which are, a necessary requirement for all big events. We have also funded in the past different marketing materials, I believe like banners.
Scituate, the Piano Center up in North Scituate.
Mm-hmm.
Scituate cultural.
We also funded part of the restoration of
The train canopy
Train
in North
canopy.
Scituate, right?
And kiosk.
No, EDC didn't.
we didn't give you any money for that?
No, we did not. But we funded the EDC, the kiosk for the North Scituate.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Business Association.
Yep.
Yeah, the banners in North Scituate, right?
Mhm.
I think Christmas lights for the harbor we funded.
Yep.
Or things like this.
And then wayfinding signage, which is all over town with the Scituate banner on it. But you actually hit a really key point, and that's kind of why we are instituting this program in the first place, is that we want to be more consistent about the types of things that EDC does fund. And so that moving forward, different groups in town will not only know that this funding is available for them, but they'll also know what types of funding they can ask for. You know, for example, we had tried to fund the Scituate Farmers Market at one point. I believe we were just gonna help with some banners and things like that, but then we weren't able to. And we never want that miscommunication between us and the person requesting. So we're hoping that this grant application will help us sort of work with the town and establish those different categories of funding so that there isn't any more miscommunication. But if you have anything in particular, like that you wanna ask us.
no.
Okay, yeah, but I know, I'm sorry, I'm kind of giving you a non-answer, but I think it's because we're trying to clarify it ourselves.
Is there a time period when you can apply for the funding? Do you have a deadline cutoff, or is it throughout the year?
Well, it is throughout the year. The event has to happen within the same year that you apply. So if you had an event in July, you couldn't apply in June for that money. Because we cut off, well, we begin again July 1. So it's the same as the town.
And then the application itself, I believe, asked for within 60 days of the event actually happening. We just want to see those invoices and receipts because it's all going to be necessary for actually, giving you the funds.
I think that's how it works anyways. You can only get reimbursed for the invoices, or can you submit the invoices to the town, right? Is that how
The
it
town
works?
generally pays the invoices.
Mhm.
They don't pay the organization.
I was just trying to remember, I think the application itself does establish a 60-day deadline though.
Yeah.
For submission of
Yeah.
that.
Did we answer that? Okay, because we're still a little shaky on it.
Well, also, I guess the point is ultimately, we want to attract people to Scituate, so
Right.
it's going to help get people here.
Right.
And you have to make the case that what you're doing, putting on is going to do that.
Attract more business.
Susie, anyone else have any questions about that?
No, but I would note that it would be really useful to tell Kathy Regan, our new communication person, if you wanna get the word out.
Yeah.
Now we have a person we can say,
Yeah.
here's how it works.
Yeah.
And she'll figure out how to get it out there.
Great, thank you. Susie, do you want to say anything about what is it?
Sure, so the Scituate Visitor Center, I don't know if you're aware of that, but Scituate has a digital website for the Scituate visitors and residents alike. So you'll find an event calendar on that website. We only have a digital presence right now. So we decided to invest a lot of our budget into our website, and we just gave our website designer a retainer for all the work he has to do to keep the traffic coming. Key search optimization, all these keyword optimization, all these things. That's what we did right now. And we also met with somebody who has more knowledge about websites, right?
Yes.
Alex Zulkowski, so her background is in marketing and strategy, and we all are not heavy in knowledge of websites. I mean, we created it with our website designer, but to keep it up and to get more attractive for people, I think we need more knowledge, and we hope that we got that in Alex. So she will help us from now on, hopefully, to get more website savvy. I think that's the most important thing from the City Visitor Centers. We're going now into the off-shoulder season. We would like to think about more events for Scituate in the off-season. I think that's what our community forum hopefully can think of too, to help the business keep afloat in the off-seasons.
We're seeing now.
Okay. I don't know if Linda Ferguson is on.
I think she did join, yeah.
Linda, are you there?
Linda? Off mute.
Are you able to see the,
Let me see.
yeah, she's there.
Yeah, she's there.
Let me see if I can, I'm gonna ask her.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, there's something wrong with my computer. So I've been able to see the agenda, but I can't see any of you guys and I couldn't get on. But anyway, advisory committee, nothing to report. We just had town meeting. And I think it's like next week we start the whole budget process. So that's it. And as Karen mentioned that, Front Street's been a little bit of a nightmare, but the DPW is trying hard, so you got to give them credit, and they seem to be moving along. So hopefully it'll be done in the next couple of days. But please tell everybody to go down and support the businesses down there, because this is their busy time of year, and to have nobody be able to get to them is not a good thing. So that's it.
Great, thank you very much, Linda. How about we move to North Situate, Amy?
Fall for Scituate was last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was a beautiful day. It worked out great. Packed down there, so it was really good. Jean did a great job from the chamber doing it, and then there was another group that helped her. I'm not sure. It wasn't them. It was gonna be them, and then it was some private group that I don't know the facts. She didn't really disclose that. Anyways, I think it was Margaret. So yeah, so it was great. I organized the kids zone, tons of kids down there. We all had booths. It was great. Thank God the weather was good.
Yes.
December 8th, we're planning on the Christmas in the Village again. The North Scituate, they have all their businesses open. We do hay rides, all of that stuff. So that's scheduled for that second Friday, because the first Friday we leave for down at the harbor. So that's scheduled for the second Friday. The kiosk, we got the kiosk in, that's installed. Looks great. I just gotta get the word out to those businesses to give me stuff. But so I've been getting approved by Michelle. She's been great about that.
She's very good.
We are having someone recommended that we contact Jane Norton. So she's making.
She's here on the call.
Okay. So she's gonna make us a map of the North Scituate, kind of make it look like the downtown one as well. So we're gonna coordinate with that, so we have a map of the businesses, so working on that. I did notice the other day I went down there to take out stuff from her, and somebody taped their stuff in front of the glass.
Ooh.
I know, about a church thing, and I took it off because I don't wanna mess up with that with Michelle. You know what I mean? She's been really good about accepting and all that stuff. So I do have to get the word out to the merchants just to give me more stuff, because there's now there's 3 things that are keeping them.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm glad you were able to pull.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
And it looked good, and they saw it looks good. I think it looks really good.
Did all the businesses feel like it was really successful for them?
I had a booth down there, the bakery did, but not all the businesses had booths, so a lot of them actually didn't. The high school teams, I realized that they all had booths and carnivals for the kids' games, and then there was other vendors, food trucks. But I don't know about the other businesses, if they were opened or whatever, but yeah.
Okay. Shelley, you wanna talk about Greenbush?
Sure. Lots happening in Greenbush these days. It's pretty exciting. So Sky Sale is officially open. The units are leasing out. Just a quick pop on their website for perspective. Looks like their units are between 700 square feet and 1,200 square feet, luxury apartments. The same at Sanctuary Herringbrook. They're also leasing. I think Sky Sale just opened up more recently. I have not seen retail announcements for Sky Sale, if anybody else has. I'm so curious. I have heard through the grapevine that it's limited, that it's not gonna be I don't know if it's all relative, but I think I heard, a handful at most of retail, maybe even less, and they're kind of larger spaces. And I also heard that the developer or whoever's leasing those retail spaces was being pretty particular about kind of what types of businesses they were gonna have in there. So that's the word on those 2 locations. And retail-wise, lots of events. It's been kind of a very fun fall event season. So Kennedy's Garden Center and Cal Mahoney's Fine Art Studio, Afterglow, they co-hosted their 2nd annual Art on the March. And it was this past Sunday, so they had a beautiful day.
much like you guys, really lucked out with this crazy weather. And they had over 15 local and not so local artisans. They had some folks coming in from a little ways, and I texted with Keld earlier today, and he said it was a huge hit, and they had a lot of attendees. And he said the vendors all seemed very happy with the event, so that was really great. I love seeing Kennedy's bustling back there. And Afterglow is also hosting a second art show, because he had an art show over the summer, Jaws themed, and this one is called The Art of the Sea, inspired by the Heart of the Sea book. So he's collecting submissions for that, so he'll be doing another event there. Untold celebrated their 6th anniversary this month, and as we all expect, had lots of events and a big to-do. So that's really great, and they're gonna be opening their Plymouth location later this month. And Untold was hiring a couple of positions in Scituate, as well as filling out their Plymouth place. Rivershed had a 3-day event last weekend called Nashville Hits, I think. It was, they have singer-songwriters that write for all of the Nashville artists you know and love. So they had a big 3-day music festival at their location. So that was this past weekend. And then Birchburn Designs, we're gonna be actually celebrating 10 years this month. And we're hosting our 7th annual Makers Market on Small Business Saturday from 10 to 3 with 15 local makers, some crossover from Keld's event, just a lot of really good local folks. And other than that, Little Steps Learning Center, they're hiring too. Like there's all these little shops you wouldn't expect to know about in Greenbush that are doing really well. The Bay State, I've communicated a lot with Bay State Fitness. They're tucked in that, and he just purchased the fitness center not too long ago, and so it's him and his wife, and they're doing really great, spreading the word and growing too. So we're looking to do the Get to Greenbush event again in the spring, hopefully the first weekend in May, but we need to work with beautification to make sure that fits out. But we'll start planning that in January once the holidays are behind us.
Great. When is the Makers Market you mentioned?
This Saturday after Thanksgiving, so it's Small Business Saturday.
Oh, okay.
November 25th, from 10 to 3. And we'll have a food truck there.
That's great. Well, okay, so that's what we have for EDC. Let's jump into the community forum meeting. Gina is going to initiate the conversation, and then Barry's gonna jump in and they're gonna do their thing, whatever it is.
Wait, do you want to join me?
No, we'll keep it.
We just keep it.
Yeah.
Great. So Barry is just handing out what is also available in the chat. If you want to open up the Google Doc that he has put a link to in there, just sort of an overview of the discussion that we hope to have tonight, along with some questions that we will be posing to the group. Sure. Yeah, actually, do we have the sign-up sheet as well?
Do you have an extra?
Of course.
Thank you. Okay. And then if we could have those, please sign in to the people who are here, and we will record who is attending via Zoom. All right, so first I just want to thank everyone who is attending in person and who is also attending via Zoom. You gotta love those hybrid meetings because it really opens up the discussion further to this year's Community Leadership Forum. So in discussing what we want the Community Leadership Forum to look like, we put this on the fiscal year 2024 goals for EDC, and that's really fostering a collaboration between the business community in town and also with town boards and committees. And we think that this forum, bringing everyone together as one room, could really help facilitate that, and we hope that you feel the same. We've seen similar efforts, by our neighbors, the South Shore Chamber. They do coffee connections where they try and connect a bunch of different business leaders together. The Marshfield Chamber recently held a local impact event as well for their real estate professionals. And so we were inspired by that, and we really think that the Community Leadership Forum can be an important facet to communication in town, especially now that we have a new communications director. So just sort of an action point that I wanted to discuss is during the pandemic, the local business community certainly suffered. And what people on EDC, as well as a lot of other groups in town, wanted to do was be able to support local businesses. So how we did that was through the Scituate Loves Local campaign. We pushed out a survey that sort of tried to address what are the needs of the local businesses? How can we help you? What are the problems that you're facing right now? And is there a way we can alleviate that anyway in, not only the EDC, but just as an entire collective, as a community, how can we help each other? So that is what brings us to what Barry's presentation is going to be about, and that's the Economic Development Commission is now put together a communication plan, both Barry and Grace, who she couldn't be here with us tonight, but they have put together a wonderful presentation about their communication plan. And we intend to now push out a new survey that is reassessing the needs of the business community, just because the most recent information we have is from the pandemic era. We want to know, how do those things work? How do they not work? And how can we establish a group now that can assist the current needs of this community? So Barry, did you want to go into further detail about the survey?
Sure, thanks Gina. So I hadn't planned to share anything up on the screen, but since we have it, I guess that I will have a visual aid. And I have to thank, as you mentioned, Grace Gardner, who's another first-year member who could not be here today. And I just want to make sure to continue to say her name because she is hand in glove with me and probably just leading me along to what we hope will be success in what has already been kind of a buzzword that we have been saying today, which is communication. And when Gina and Sue and Grace and I talked about how we could bring all of you who are here in the room and everybody who's on Zoom together, what would we organize around? It was around communication. How do we know what our purpose is as community leaders if we are not communicating with one another? And that dovetailed very nicely with the charge that Sue gave to me and Grace earlier this year, which was to do that for the EDC itself. So Grace and I put our heads together and really tried to start at the very, very beginning, which was, Sue, why do you want us to figure out a communication plan? Basically it came back to the EDC has a charge from the town to work with the business community in Scituate and the town itself. And Grace and I really think of these as business stakeholders within Scituate. And we found a few stakeholder groups, businesses, of course, business organizations and representative groups. The town hall, the folks we answer to, of course, at the select board, and the different geographies of the town and those who live there, and then of course committees and boards. And so what we plan to do over the next several months is to go out with different techniques of trying to figure this out, but figure out what all the stakeholders actually want us to do in order not just to do that, but to understand what is our purpose here and how can we serve that purpose with the resources we have, the volunteer hours we have, which of course aren't that many, but the idea is to speak to participants who want to participate, not just the folks who know that these meetings are going on the third Monday generally of each month, to get a representative view of what business stakeholders in Scituate want, what committee and board members can do and can offer and see as their constituencies, and what the town hall really and the select board really would like us to do, and as we've seen with the grant application, to be able to understand what the possibilities are for how we all can serve our constituency. The idea is, let's get to as many people as possible, as Gina was just talking about. The big lift that Grace and I are going to do is to design a stakeholder survey that will go out to business owners in Scituate to understand what their needs are. And one of the reasons that we wanted to, or one of the things we wanted to do here tonight was to, as you can see, right here at the start of this timeline, start with community leaders to understand from you what you would like to know from our business community, what your pain points are, to make sure that when we go out and listen to others, we're going to be getting relevant and actionable information that can come back to our community leaders to be able to then serve our community. This all, as I say it, it all sounds very, very obvious, and I'm very conscious as I'm speaking that of course we want to be serving our community. But I think we've all found, and the North Scituate discussion about the 80 trucks going back and forth during January is a really great example of how not knowing what's going to be happening and not knowing what our stakeholders want and then not knowing even that we may exist and what we can do and having great feedback loops established can be very damaging to the town's business. And I'm not just talking about the business owners, but us sitting here in this room as well. So our hope is that by end of Q1, we can really have very representative information that will not just make people feel listened to, but actually be able to be distilled into actions where we can be helping and really doing what we all volunteer to do. So that is the 35,000 foot. And tonight is the first time that we're really coming in for our first sort of landing and actually speaking to a really important stakeholder group here at the Community Leaders Forum.
Could I just say something?
Of course.
So initially, when this group got together, it was more about trying to figure out, correct me if I'm wrong, more about trying to figure out what we can do together and what we initially thought as a group, after meeting a couple of times, we thought that an event might be something we could all gather around and support and work together on. And then that would build onto whatever the next purpose was for the group. So that didn't happen, as we know. It just didn't work out. So now we're just trying to regroup and say, all right, well, what can we do as a group? We're all from different areas of the, some are community groups, some are town-run committees, some are nonprofits. So I think in general, from my perspective, and it has been since I came onto EDC, is that we're not all rowing in the same direction. And if we did, it would be amazing. So I think the communications person may be super helpful. The timing is actually very good because with all these pieces lining up, it could be the right time for us to be used as a vehicle for the town and for the town to use, for us to use the town to verbalize what we're trying to. And Barry used the example of the trucks going through and the sort of lack of communication. And it was, I'm positive it was not intentional, but that's how it does come across. So that's just one area we probably could be helpful in. So that now.
I know, I appreciate it, Sue, because that actually segues into sort of the next section. I just wanted to give a brief overview of sort of the goals that we envision for the Community Leaders Forum. But of course, once we get feedback and hear from all of you, they can certainly be modified. So the first is just information sharing, as we've said, providing a forum, a space that we all get together, leaders within the community, and we discuss what's going on with our respective groups. Second is information gathering. So again, whether it's through conversations like this or through the survey, we just want to establish the common goals, interests, and concerns. And lastly, it's going to be implementation. So all the leaders in this forum, we have the opportunity to forge the identity of our town and to preserve what we like about it, but then also think about, economic development that is going to not hinder the ability to preserve that identity and also to just sort of figure out as a community what we want to see. And so that's why tonight we sort of keep bringing us back to that survey, but we think the survey is going to be the best way to identify what our business community needs, what town groups and committees need, and how this group of us can work the most efficiently. So I think we can turn to the questions and hear from everyone. So I think the first question that we kind of want to get to the meat of is, what do you find is the greatest pain point for your committee and board when you're trying to do business or, you know, work within the town? Anyone?
Well, I would say mine was knowing where to go when you're starting something, because our committee's fairly new. But I would say I'm very happy that I can look at the other sister city committees that have been around for a long time and, you know, get their advice. If they didn't exist, it would be very challenging to even put on an event as a town committee, knowing, you know, what steps are necessary. But like I said, I'm fortunate to be the third sister city in town, so I can rely on those that have been here a lot longer.
That's fabulous.
And you run a pretty big event.
Yes, I
You don't have any problems at all?
We have plenty of problems. Mainly our problem is raising money to keep it going.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll have a little bit of help from you guys this year.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a pretty good example because you weren't aware that we might be able to help
Correct.
until we had that thing at Untold
Mm-hmm.
in last spring.
Yeah.
So that was a-
conversation, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good example of how when we get together, we may be able to help one another.
Right.
And that also plays into the same point about when you're starting out as a newer group, or if you have a newer event, you know, where do you go for funding? Could EDC fund a portion of an event that you want to do? And that's the information we want to get out there, because we don't want more of these, oh, I didn't realize I could ask you guys for money.
Yeah.
We have a budget that we need to make sure is allocated, and all of these events contribute towards, you know, bettering of the town, so.
Yeah, or get to Greenbush event, I paid for most of it, because I just wanted it to happen and I wanted to see it happen.
Exactly.
This year you might see it happen for me.
The grant application, because I know from, again, relying on the other sister cities, the Mass Cultural. I recently applied for 2 grants, have never done any grant writing, and I almost stopped and said told my husband we're gonna write a check.
Yeah.
Because it was not easy. But if there was more guidance for the committees to say, you know, these are the organizations in town that have grants available, and the timeframes to when to apply and what type of events they would consider would be helpful. Because we're all volunteers,
Right.
and sometimes it is frustrating when, you know, you worked all day and you want to do your good volunteer work,
Right.
and you're ready to just cover the expenses. It can't continue, you know, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
I would just throw in to say, I don't think anybody in town knows you guys have funding available.
I know.
Period.
And that is a problem.
Like, I'm stunned.
Mhm.
It's the first I heard about it.
I know at the Get to Greenbush event last year, I spoke with the Scituate Dog Park, again, a nonprofit, they didn't know we even had an economic development commission. That is a problem. We want to help, but no one knows we exist.
But it's also a problem, you know, not just for the fact that we have the ability to have people apply for funding,
Mhm.
but there are other organizations in town that probably we don't know about. And that we may be able to be working with on other projects. Beautification probably covers almost every committee. We did meet on some other meeting overlapping and came up with a plan to do something. So they have a budget. So, you know, there are lots of opportunities, I think, that we don't want to continue to miss.
I'm Pat Shepherd, the Scituate Sister City, CCR Sister City. And I'm also finding out that there is a possibility of getting some funding. I mean, we have no funds from the town at all. And so we end up spending a lot of money on our own, you know, from everybody's pockets, which in fact, we just hosted, a big Bastille Day celebration. And it was helpful that we had raffles and, you know, especially the raffles that helped, you know, fund the whole thing, but all the volunteer work. And since the founding of our group, and then the founding of the other, you know, the Irish and the Cape Verdean one, we have been thinking, at least in our committee, and maybe we've talked about it a little bit, but I don't think so, of really providing a way for activities that the 3 sister city groups could organize together and really help to make the whole town, part of our associations, so that, you know, we're not just American citizens, UC citizens, but we're now part of Ireland, France, and Cape Verde. And we haven't done anything like that before. But I know that in CCM3, they have 4 sister cities all over the world. And they regularly, a lot of times it's around Christmas time, but they have some kind of an activity that the town helps sponsor that is, you know, provided for the whole town, and they get some money. And it's to get their, you know, their countries known and whatnot. And a few years ago, I don't know what they did for the other parts of it, but they had a huge, like, murder mystery type thing. And they used, I never heard exactly what it was, but part of it from the CC input, there was a murder mystery taking place at the Lawson estate. And they had, you know, they really knew a lot about Scituate and everything. And so I'm not saying we do something like that, but I think it would be fun we hold film festivals. And we hope now this time we're gonna have the Scituate Movie Theater do it, and with their expertise and everything. And Angela's had a big part in that aspect of it. Do you wanna tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah, we're meeting with the Rio.
Yeah.
And hope to do something, because the Winter Festival, Film Festival, last year, there was 3, so we showed a documentary, Big Birdie documentary. Pat showed 2 for the French committee. And it's done in the winter, so it's off-season.
It's a
So
shoulder
again,
month,
it's a great time to, you know, but if we, you know, if we can work with the theater, we can bring people in, do a movie night, dinner, drinks.
Right,
Maybe
that brings
restaurants can
business
have,
to
you
Scituate.
know, different cocktails with the different countries.
Yeah.
Which would
Yeah,
be
we
a
have a beautiful
town-wide.
town, and a lot of people, you know, they'll come to Scituate, you know, in the summertime, but obviously we want to come all year. And this past Heritage Day is the first time that the 3 sister cities had a booth, combined booth, and there was a lot of interest. We had a lot of people sign up, we had hundreds of people. We did a joint calendar fundraiser for our committee, and that was very successful also, so. It's a good look for Scituate,
Yes.
you know, to see the diversity, to see the different cultures.
Right.
So I think some people will be surprised to see it. Obviously, we know the Irish connection very well, at St. Patrick's Day parade. I've always brought my children there, they're half Irish. We'll have a float this year, next year for the 3 sister cities. And we'll be throwing French flags and British flags, and all the other flags too. But, yeah, so I think that's, you know, it's an area that provides educational opportunity for kids in Scituate to learn about other countries.
Right.
And as well as just, you know, fun experiences.
And the cultural.
Well, I would definitely encourage you to look at the application online, because it does give you, it gives the applicant, well, you filled it out. It gives you of what you would possibly qualify for, whether you would or not. But if an organization thinks they don't qualify, at least let's have a conversation. Maybe there's other ways we can help, if not with funding.
I'd like a French cooking class, please.
Yeah. Yes.
I need some cooking classes, so.
And we've been talking about this for the last couple of years of having, you know, and how we could maybe do all three cultures and do something to that effect.
Just a point that Pat brought up, the fact that when the small groups are trying to raise money, they're hitting up the merchants constantly
Yeah.
for gifts, for donations, to have their little fundraisers, which raise a few hundred to maybe $1,000, and it's just, you know, we're nitpicking at these things. Maybe if some of those groups could apply to the EPC to
Right.
maybe get a donation that would cover that expense, gives the merchants.
You mean the
break,
smaller-
the stuff they have
Yeah.
to donate on every time someone's knocking on their door.
My name's Kevin Carlton, I'm from the Library Trustees, welcome to my library.
Thank you for having us.
Anytime, anytime. We're somewhat fortunate in that we have strong support from the town. From the advisory board, the selectmen. We have two outstanding groups, the foundation, which Amy's been involved in, and the Friends, which is a 51-year-old organization.
Yeah.
The Friends run the bookstore. I liken them to the National Guard. The foundation is more like the Marines. They will assault your wallet. They raise tons of money for big projects, and they organize support for the library. So we're very, very fortunate to have widespread support and two groups that do extraordinary work. I think our biggest concern would be communication.
Yeah.
Now, I'm kind of old fashioned. I miss having a good local newspaper. That
It's a big loss.
really served us
Yeah.
well for many, many years.
Yes.
We have a mailing list, we have a newsletter, and obviously we have some signage currently here. But we serve everybody in the town. We're putting a particular focus on early childhood, reading readiness, and how do we reach those people? So that's a big concern that we have.
Yeah.
Now, I always love to think, because I've worked in nonprofit my whole career, how can we get money? And we do get support from the town, the foundation, and friends. One project that we've done a few times in the past that was a lot of fun is the One Town, One Book project. Pick a topic. The most recent one had to do with climate change, ocean levels, and the impact of rising sea levels. So we bought a ton of books, distributed them very widely, not caring if we got them back or not. We did this several years ago in conjunction with the senior center, where a movie was shown that had been based on a book. It was at the old senior center. It was a waste of time. You could hardly see the screen. Now, the new senior center is phenomenal. We did one on Greenbush, where we distributed books at the train station, and people would read it and have discussions. That was interesting. So maybe we could go for a grant and have a ton of books.
Actually, you reminded me, the visitor center, gets, data reports on a monthly basis. And the biggest hit on the site all the time is historic. And that's where people spend the most time. So that may be something you're tying into what you're saying right now. You did Greenbush, you know, that could be the central piece that we could focus on. But, you know, one of the things we've noticed over the years too is that, you know, we're more conscious of it now, but when people are running events, they may be planning something on the same day. And it would be so much better if there was a central calendar, which could be the visitor center calendar. But at the same time, you know, people want their events when they want their events. But they'll be more successful if everybody's on the same page and you're supporting your event and you're supporting his event. And that's kind of, I think, what we really would like to see.
And that's a good point, because many times we've had fundraising events and only to find out after we booked everything, that some other organization was having it.
Yeah, the
somewhere else
Education
on the
Foundation
street.
or something. Yeah,
And now we're breaking up our audience up
right,
between two and sometimes three events the same evening.
right. I don't really know how to prevent that, but I think if we put our heads together,
I mean, I think if there was a central location that everybody could go to look and see, okay, my group was the first one to book that weekend, so now the next group goes, I think we should do that weekend, they can look up and say, oh, we don't want to butt heads with that organization.
Right.
So maybe they move it.
Some sort of central calendar, which we can update, daily online, but then maybe have a print version
Right.
as well that's maybe updated weekly or something like
And
that.
the three of us, when we were chatting about tonight, we were thinking, would a newsletter be helpful from this group?
So that's kind of the second question.
Yeah, okay.
But, so I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't wanna also, I know there are people hybrid. Is there anyone posting in the chat that wants to touch base on this first question?
We have had a couple of comments. Michelle, thank you Michelle and Jean have been active. Thank you very much. So Michelle pointed out the usual money, which I think we've been discussing pretty thoroughly here. But also you wrote volunteers, and we've touched on volunteers, but I do think that they're different. So Michelle, is there anything that you wanted to add there? Are you able to unmute?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Nothing that I really wanted to add. It's kind of the same people working on the same thing all the time. I see the same people over and over again.
What are you trying to say to us, Michelle? You don't like us?
No, I like you, and I'm so glad.
But I think that's such a good point. I think
Absolutely.
as part of our communication process, I had this conversation with my husband today, he goes, what's going on in North Situate? Why don't they just build a new, I'm like, listen, get involved if you have questions about this. You can't affect change. And I think maybe part of our communication process is we need people.
Yes.
We need people to get involved. If you are concerned about any topic, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Michelle, but I think that is so critical that we start, it's like putting a new hire sign out. We need people, we need young people to get involved.
Well, to your point, Ed, the one thing that I think we're missing often is the generation, your generation, and your generation in the active involvement. Because if we don't build that, it will continue to be the same 25 people that are doing all the work.
On that line, I am not a spring chicken anymore. I've been running the parade for 25 years. One of these days, I'm gonna die or move out of town. And if someone doesn't wanna volunteer to learn what I do, take over the parade.
Is this the official announcement?
He's looking for his successor.
I'm fishing for someone younger that might be interested in doing what I do and maybe taking it over from me in the next whatever time period, so that.
Right.
Oh, okay. Mark touched base on that too, but I don't want to jump in.
I wanted just to mention, what Mark is saying is I think coming into this year, that as someone who has just recently joined the EDC, I joined the EDC because the person who sold me my house sent me an email and said, you're joining the EDC. I didn't realize that I had made the mistake of talking about how I wanted to be involved in the community and for the wrong person. But Grace, who's not here tonight, had the same experience where she's a neighbor of mine, just moved back after about 20 years out of Scituate, but grew up in Scituate, longtime Scituate family. My in-laws, their history is Scituate. But Grace had no idea, despite having grown up here. And so one day I was talking to her just about civic involvement. She said, oh, that's so cool. And so I think that, again, it comes back to this bedrock of communication, being an unlock and really being able to start a communication, because she and a lot of people I've spoken to, as soon as a little bit of the veil has been lifted, then the enthusiasm is there, the generational enthusiasm is there. Once we can all put our kids to bed, let's do it, let's get involved. And for one of the again, I'll use sort of foundational elements of this communication survey for the EDC, which I don't want to confuse as the exact same thing as the Community Leaders Forum, but they have a lot of similarities, is that the idea is to go out to everybody, even if they don't know we exist, to make sure they do, make sure that they know that they can have input, and then bring it back. I'm looking at the board's page here on Scituate's website, and there's 40 or so. We don't have 40 people in this room and online, but with strong communication with stakeholders and among the boards and committees, then the volunteer faces all of a sudden start to diversify, because instead of just coming and saying, hey, EDC, or hey, single committee that I know how to interact with, if the EDC and other committees know what's going on in the other hands, then we can start to refer things that are coming from stakeholders to folks who not only can do something about it, but want to do something about it and have volunteered to do something about it. And so I do think that, one, there is a generational issue, I completely agree, that is helped by communication. And two, there are a lot of volunteers who are already involved and are behind, are all speaking to small groups, and small groups are speaking to them. To be able to understand what's going on elsewhere will be massively important to this idea of the same people are doing the same things all the time, and solving that.
I think I get the younger people that are coming. I think you guys or somebody should go talk to the elementary school PTOs and go to those meetings, because that's how, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, we were at some event. That's how I got roped into the Scituate Library, because we were at some young event with all those, and Les Ball came over and whatever. That's how the whole thing happened. But I think that to talk to those younger elementary school kids, because I didn't know when I had kids in that age about this. And so I think that
And
that's
we're
a good way.
invested in
They're
the town,
invested
and
in-
we wanna be,
yes.
we wanna see the betterment and the growth.
And I
of the
think
town.
they're all volunteering in those schools, that's why they're not in committees like this, but to get one or two people to be invested, then the other people will bring them to the events. They'll bring their friends to all these events or talk about it, so I think it's good that you contact the heads of those and speak at their PTO meetings for like 5 minutes, get on their agenda.
And I think the City Newcomers Club
Yeah.
might
Is
be
there
a really
other
good,
more chat questions?
address too, to get, because those people are new to City, want to know about it, have no clue, and if you can get them first,
And I hear a lot of people do join, I think it's a subscription though.
What?
The group, the Scituate Newcomers and Cohasset, it's like a membership.
Yeah, Scituate Cohasset.
I think it's City.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all people that when they first moved here, like when I first moved to
And it seems like a very active group,
It is,
so.
when you first moved here, you wanna do it, then we kinda like left once we got our,
I can reach out to you.
And then, Mark just said, he knows it, so,
So Mark,
in the chat. Yeah, Mark, do you wanna speak? Mark is also my neighbor, but got involved in town affairs without my, meddling.
Wow, coincidence.
I just.
Hey.
Hi, Mark.
Sorry, I wanted to start my video here, but it's not letting me, so I don't know what's going on. But anyway, oh, there we go. Hey, yeah, it's an interesting discussion. I'm pretty new to town, so maybe
you're one of those.
yeah, I'm one of them. Yeah, but yeah, I think the newcomers club is interesting. We have some friends.
Wait, Mark,
here.
before you say, would you be interested in running the St. Patrick's Day parade?
That'll just happen.
Oh, given
It's a really great time.
I don't know how much street.
The French people.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how much street cred I would have with my last name, but
To change last name.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. No, I was just saying I think reaching out to the newcomers club would be interesting. We know some of the people who are pretty active in it, and I think that they're interested. I think I forget who was making. I'm not sure who was making the point earlier, but I think some of it is like it's an exposure thing. Like I went to town meeting and I was texting some friends about it, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't know that was going on. Like, I would totally go next time." And so I don't know. I think it is. Someone made a point earlier about local news, and I think you know, we get the Mariner, I work for the Boston Globe, and like it is we're very aware of like how much of a news desert a lot of the suburbs are now. And it feels like Facebook has really taken a lot of that conversation. And I know it's a whole other topic, but I think it does all relate to this idea of like, how do we get information out to people and get them excited about getting involved? And I don't know the answer to that, but I think it is an interesting topic to discuss.
I mean, I think that kind of segues perfectly, Mark, into the question that we had next, which was how to facilitate this ongoing communication. Like, what is the best way to reach people? Since we don't have the Mariner anymore, what does this group envision? Is it a quarterly newsletter, which, I mean, that obviously would require all of us to put input into it? Is it workshops like this? Is it hybrid meetings? What do you find works?
Nobody has.
If you email us, constant contact.
Okay, so that's something that you find effective?
Oh, well, you know, if Jane is still on the call, I can't see that part.
Jane is on.
Jane,
Jane's in.
the newsletter, I think you still do it for the chamber, it looks fantastic. And I don't know how many people in this room get it, but it is, like, how time consuming is it? You know, what, all that kind of stuff. Tell us all the bad stuff and the good stuff. Thank you, Jane.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, it's, I think once you have sort of a template, an idea, I kind of do it on the fly as things, I could do it more organized, but it's difficult to get people to give you information. There are a few who will send me things, and I always encourage that in each newsletter, but it's surprising sometimes that and it's just something I'm currently doing. I started to do it as a membership benefit for the chamber members, get people to know each other and connected, and I know some people appreciate it, but it's kind of, yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. It does take some time, but yeah.
We would need to collect emails.
Well, so it's collecting emails, but then it's also, you know, the content. Because it would be great if we could all, you know, every group in town contributes their events or what's going on, or, you know, we could spotlight EDC's grant funding program, but who's gonna read it?
I know,
We want to get people
my
to actually
challenge,
read these things. We don't wanna put all this effort into it and have it not reach our
I think
audience.
one of the things is to also just the less text, the better.
Yeah.
You know, and if people have flyers and branding already, that's what I try to include. I try to go with each business district. I go on social media and Instagram and just try not to repeat the same person all the time. But there is so much going on, and I feel like I could be doing so much more, really, to get the word out. But
is a Facebook group too antiquated? I mean, or the wrong space? I just wonder if a place where information can be quickly populated when it's relevant, as it's relevant, rather than waiting on a newsletter that's a collection of, you know, you want to, the newsletter is a great idea when you know, I guess have people who are paid to be in that role to collect that information all the time. Otherwise, I see just a place where things can get populated and pushed as it's relevant. But I don't know if Facebook is the right place.
So I mean, the events calendar on the visitor center website, I think, was trying to be that, you know, where you submit your information and then it's not only just events going on in town, but anything that any of the town boards and committees wanted to put up. But I'm not sure many people contribute to that either, because it's all about the input as well.
Right. I think with that, I know I've had people remind me to put an event up there.
Yeah.
So you're putting it once you know it's happening, which if two committees at the same time pick a date, they're gonna put the events on the same date because they don't know that, you know, they're both thinking about that date. So it's almost like you need to know in advance or as you're preparing, you know, like, oh, there's gotta be communication with the committees Like if there was a mailing list with just the board and the committees,
Process
before it
for
goes
it.
out to the public,
Almost
to
like a
say,
shared
like a
calendar or
tentative
something.
calendar or, you know, because that way you can plan accordingly. But if we all pick the same day, we put it out there, it could be posted within minutes from each other, and we still have the same problem that there's multiple
Yeah,
events on
I
the
think
same
what
day.
needs to be done is that the people who are heading up all of the groups in town that do anything need to be on the same constant contact.
Yeah.
So that when one group says, okay, they can go on and post to the other community saying, we are thinking of doing this particular date for an event. You know, let them know. Then each of the groups can make their own decision as to when they're gonna go and do certain things, and then they can promote their own events after the fact, so then they're not butting heads with those that are already in the same boat. And as far as the people to get the general population to know about that, that's the only other issue is
It seems
how
to
many
me,
people read.
it seems to me that there needs to be a core group for the community leaders forum and start to make almost a mission statement, and I don't need to make it that formalized, but something, then decide on what the vehicle is that that the communication vehicle. And again, when we bring in someone younger than me, I think they have a lot more tools that I'm certainly not aware of. And if we want to reach that group of people, then we, in addition to who we already are reaching, then we need to bring people in.
Is the audience that we're looking to communicate with is just generally all of Scituate?
Pretty much.
Not just volunteer groups that are
Yeah.
kind of siphoned under the town leadership, or?
So the community leadership forum would be pulling together that core group like we're discussing, like
Yeah.
the people that are here in addition to others that would be on this sort of constant contact. But then, yes, I think the whole point is the information push is to the larger town.
Gotcha, that was helpful.
Right now, we advertise on we send to as many groups as we can.
Yeah.
On Scituate Connect
Yeah,
and the town website and the schools through peers.
Yeah.
So I think if we did do this constant contact that we're talking about, then if someone does have an event, then we could do that cross-posting. Because then it won't be just you posting it to Scituate Connected, the town website. Hopefully everyone will support everyone's events. And you'll be seeing it everywhere, that everyone's posting it. So I mean, what comes to mind, I keep thinking like, I wish we had a shared calendar. So I mean, Google, right? You could use that for the list of emails that are in the constant contact. However, then it's like, I don't know if there's a better version. Like I know at my firm, we use Teams, or there's Slack, or there's 1,001 different ways to communicate in like a message board type of way that even I can't keep track of them. So if email constant contact is our first step, if that seems to work for the majority of people, then maybe that's what we start with.
I know Scituate Community at Christmas uses Slack.
Uses Slack, so like the Scituate Loves Local was all Slack, and you can, you know, you can share documents, and you can do different, you know, chat rooms and things. That's the only time I've ever used it.
That's the only time I've used it.
Yeah.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean, and it's, you need something that is effective for all of our people.
Right.
We could have this big fancy Slack channel, but if no one knows how to use it or download it or
it's not comfortable with it.
if it's just not something that, we want this to be easy. We want this to be something that people gravitate towards.
So, one other thing about getting out social media, you can pay Facebook to push your ads.
To promote it.
Yeah.
To promote it, and you can direct it to a community, you can actually say, push it to everybody in Scituate.
Yeah.
Or push it to everybody in all the surrounding towns. And how many times they push it depends on how much you wanna pay to have them do that. So, for some people that works, for some others that are, you know, don't have a lot of money and are trying to raise money in an event, yeah, but take it out of what their budget,
You know, I wonder if the town, I don't think they could add a page, their website is not that great, but I wonder if that's the website that people could go to,
Like community message board or
Yeah.
something like that?
like, and have a calendar.
I
Well,
just
we
think
could set up a webpage.
Yeah.
For everybody that's got their particular groups that they represent. And to post their events on.
Mhm.
And maybe we could get the town that has the electronics, the board out in front of the town hall, say, all your town events go to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Oh, it's actually a good idea.
And post that on Scituate Monthly, Scituate Connect.
yeah,
Everybody posts it on their own personal pages and their own websites. That might be something that would work. All we have to do
Yeah.
is develop a webpage, which Jane could do.
Jane, she's hiding.
Hi, Jane, I know you love me.
Turn the camera off, Jane.
Yeah, but it would benefit everybody.
Yes,
That's the whole
Yeah.
thing.
anybody and everybody who has something to do in town goes to that particular
Right.
webpage. And then if the town knows about, you can even just put little signs on the side of the street corners. Town information or events
Right.
information, www.events.com, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, Scituate.
to bring it right to that page.
And
Yeah.
someone will drive by and go, oh,
I didn't
I
know
think
that.
I'll go do that and
Yeah.
find out what's going on. And
Yeah,
eventually it'll become a habit for everybody, they'll
Right.
just load it onto their devices and whenever they wanna know what's going on, they'll just
yeah,
hop right on it.
Well, I think too, we keep talking about conflicting events, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not sure, I think in the end, it's a combined event, get to Greenbush with the Ship Shape Day. But I mean, those were complementary events put on by various groups.
And
but it was by accident.
It was by accident, and
Exactly.
then I thought, well, this is fantastic, I
Yeah.
love the push from beautification
Yeah.
for Ship Shape, and I have, should we wanna collaborate again, I have even grander ideas, how Ship
Yeah.
Shape could be really big and Greenbush could collaborate with it, maybe in the same location, so I don't know. I think being able to collect, combine, collaborate, or just divide and conquer. So like you said, if it's not possible to combine, then obviously we don't wanna split the same audience.
Right.
But if all of the groups, if we got a hold of every group that does some kind of event in town, whatever they're raising money for, if I know that this is a page that I can go to, when I'm planning to do a fundraising event, I'll sit with my committee and we say, okay, let's do a game night. What's a good night to do it? Oh, let me go check and see if anybody's doing anything on that night. If they've already scheduled, okay, now I know I have to go check a different night.
Exactly.
Or I mean, it could even be if you see some event is happening at, I don't know, a restaurant in town, then you could follow it up, that ends and yours starts, so then you get that whole group that's
Sure.
already there.
Right.
It could end up working out in a lot of ways, and similar with the sister city communities wanting to have a combined event, it could be a very similar thing where there's complementary events going on with other groups that just further brings up visibility. I think the shared calendar idea is key.
Wasn't the visitor center supposed to do that?
Well, it actually could lead to the visitor center's events calendar.
Well,
Yeah,
and-
that's probably how it would go.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, my report for Greenwich Liaison was 50% events from the businesses, just entities. And I don't know if we want to get that granular for this kind of,
Well, I don't think
but I mean, like
reason.
Rivershed, they had a 3-day music festival, and they
Right.
probably were bringing in people from all over the place.
Right.
And, do you want to compete with that? I don't know.
Right.
And so,
Or do
I
you
guess
wanna add on to it?
communicating with not just, town committees, but, this again gets broader and more difficult, but is this something that we would communicate with, all business owners or anybody that's trying to?
Well, it's similar to, I'll use Heritage Days because it's typically the same weekend every August. So if someone wanted to do something, they know that's Heritage Days weekend.
Right.
Okay, but nothing's going on Sunday afternoon, I'm just throwing that out. They may wanna do their event if it's connected and they have an audience and it's a good location, so maybe that is, a restaurant may wanna do something on St. Patty's Day parade,
Right,
right?
yeah,
So
they all should.
they should.
Well, even-
Crowd in town, you might as well take advantage of it.
Right.
I mean, I saw the Rivershed thing advertised and Untold, I had no idea about the Kennedys, that just happened. And it's
Yeah, I didn't know
right
anything
down the
about it
street.
either.
I didn't know anything about either.
That's what I'm saying, so right there, it's already things that we all would have wanted to go to, but we just didn't even know they were happening in our own town.
Do we think the visitor center could be a funnel then?
Yeah, I do.
My only issue with the visitor center is I think that people think about that and they think that that's just for people who are coming to town.
I think it's
So
more
people in
for
town
tourists.
go to
yeah,
the visitor center to look up what
And
events.
that's,
But I think all of these events actually, at least as an event planner for, our makers market, for instance, I want people to come from all over the South Shore. From
Right.
Cape, I want everybody to come.
Yeah.
And
But
so I would love for the visitor center to include an event like ours in
Right.
promotions, because we're Kennedys, I'm sure that Keldon Kennedys would love for that to be on the radar for the visitor center. They probably didn't think to put it on the radar. And so it's a two-way communication to make sure all business owners are now understanding, hey, you have another resource, not just the EDC, but like we've got the Scituate Visitor Center is wanting to share about us.
and also the chamber shares, their
Right.
members' information, so I think as many organizations that can share,
Right,
the better.
yeah.
So, I mean, the strong chamber, a strong visitor center, and strong business groups, it can only make everything better.
I mean, we have a website for the parade. We have thousands of people that click on that every year at that time of year.
Yeah.
So.
Do you sell advertising on that page?
Hmm?
Do you sell advertising on that page?
That's a good idea.
I know.
Never thought of doing that before.
I'm
There we
glad
go.
we met today.
What is your page name?
We love a parade.
We love
Oh,
it,
okay.
right, yeah.
So I would never know that because Situate's not in it. When I Google Scituate, doesn't
Right.
pop up.
And
Because
where's
we're
Mark?
not a town.
SEO.
Mark's on there, our
We
SEO,
are a private entity, the parade. We are not a town entity.
right, it's a nonprofit,
It's a
correct?
nonprofit, correct?
But the Scituate Visitor Center, when we post your event, we can link to your website.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can post it like, a month and a half ahead, and so we can direct our traffic to.
And that
Right.
should be able to happen for any of them.
Are we gonna get some SEO advice from Mark? So I can.
Yeah, the visitor center site. Yeah, Alex is actually taking that one, but no, I have some thoughts around SEO. I do think the issue of like calling it the Scituate Visitor Center, someone just made this point, but is it primarily more geared towards people who don't live here versus ones who do? I don't know. I keep coming back to the fact that we just don't have a local news outlet here anymore. And I was just looking at. I'm curious if the Anchor has ever thought about expanding to Scituate, because I know they just expanded from Hingham into Cohasset. And I mean, I'm just looking at their site, and it's they take a plug and play sort of platform. It just feels like we're missing like a central place that people know to go to.
Yep.
For town information, for events, for all sorts of stuff. And it's like, again, it's like I feel like a lot of people use Facebook, but I'm not on Facebook, so I'm not a part of any of those groups. There's always going to be a kind of limiting function there, but I don't know, that to me feels like the big problem here, that it's like there's this hole that where are people getting their information, and it seems just very scattered now.
Can EDC fund that media outlet
Anchor?
for Scituate? A Scituate media outlet that he's talking about.
I'm curious.
Why can't EDC fund that and create a media outlet for Scituate?
I don't know if that would
Scituate
fit within
Visitor
the
Center.
charge.
That, no, so I mean, Karen would probably be great if she were here to be able to respond to that question. I think that's certainly outside of the charge, but I don't think it's outside of being able to have that issue bubble up, right? And this is actually one of the things that just talking and getting in the same room starts to do, is that you sit there, you say problem has just shown up. Do we know who within this governmental apparatus, where we have literally just this like enormous list when I just put government on the Scituate website. And I have no idea who to go to talk to about that question.
We have now this, so the part-time communication manager,
And
I think
now-
that would be the perfect person to get there, and that's the first task. And
Yeah, about a local news outlet.
local news outlet,
That we
let
find there's a
people know
need.
where to go.
Did
for
that person
information.
start?
Yes,
Oh,
this week or last week.
Okay, well, we wanna respect people's time.
Wait, can I just point out, in
Yes.
terms of any kind of town funding for a news site,
Mm.
you lose objectivity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because if the board of
That's
selectmen
true.
are paying, you can't write an article
Right.
about goings on,
oh,
where you
right,
might say, boy, they screwed up.
right, right,
That'd be your last article.
yeah, that's absolutely,
Yeah, that's true.
Yes,
It needs to
we
be
should.
independent.
Well, it's
Not to say that the EDC couldn't throw out a grant to somebody to support the startup
right,
of some kind of, say, online independent news site.
right.
And I think for a lot of these things is that in the past, EDC has always been reactive, a group comes in, they have their ask, we figure out, okay, we debate amongst ourselves on the committee, whether we wanna approve it or not, but then we get to the town and we find out, does it qualify for EDC funds or not? So that was why when you had asked the question earlier about what we can fund, it's still a question for us in some instances. And we're really trying to make the grant program a way to address that, to figure out, could we fund this? We put this idea out there, if we like it, great, but I'm not sure EDC funds could be used towards that.
Yeah, I don't know.
And, we can talk with Nancy Holtz and, we can talk with the town and figure that out, but I think that's also important to all of this communication is having that transparency about what EDC can fund, that EDC can fund things, and EDC wants to fund things.
Can I ask you a question about the newsletter that Jane, did you send out paper newsletters or is it an email?
No, it's email. It's constant contact.
But it's for chamber members, she said.
Well, I actually send it out. There's several different lists, and a lot of times, like tomorrow, I'll be sending something out and I'll send it to general interest. Like I put in art on the marsh, and I try to I fall for Scituate. You name it. I mean, it's been kind of my own personal thing, and we've talked about this before about trying to bring groups together, and whether it's horticultural and promoting the bandstand or First Fridays, and just trying to. But I don't even think some of those people know that it's being sent or promoted.
Yeah, right.
But I do it anyway.
Can you sign up to get it?
Yes. Yeah, you can sign up on the chamber website, or each newsletter has it. I'd be happy to send you if you want. Well, we can figure out how you could sign up afterwards if you like. I'd be happy to put you on the list.
Yeah. Were there any other questions from chat?
Yeah, so Michelle had just put in a comment during that last discussion, talking about how we should focus on marketing to get people here for all events, which sounds like there's a lot of agreement on that. Not just a place for housing the events. And so it sounds like this is, if there's a few issues that have bubbled through, this idea of how to both become aware of the events among leaders and then use that forum to market these events seems to be an issue that's still out there. Would have been lovely if we could solve that all right now. But
Well, how about if we finish up with, would we like to meet again soon rather than wait, 4 months again? The momentum is here. And if each person could bring one person,
Yes,
then,
get the word out.
then maybe we could, maybe it's a.
I love the idea of presenting at PTO between now and then, and what was it, there was another of the newcomers. I mean, I don't know if those are the audiences you're looking to get people at this community forum, but anyway, I thought that was a really smart idea.
I feel like that action is is an action we take once we know where we're
Perfect.
going.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'd love to have more people involved, but
I would love to see, I really appreciate hearing, the perspective of the boards and committees that have shown up tonight. I would really love to see more of the boards and the committees, because the solutions, I think the problems we're gonna find out, everyone shares, right?
Yeah.
There's almost unanimous problems. I thought we were gonna have, a number of different ones have trouble figuring out what the themes were. The themes were not difficult to figure out. But I think the solutions are largely around, and step one would be, what solutions are here already? And let's figure that out. It would be great to get more people in the room, and then move from there to how do those folks create the solutions that are still necessary.
Because I think it would be better to go to PDU meetings as a community forum
Right.
and not as every group, and having a list of all the different groups in Scituate who look for volunteers with a short description what they are, what they're interested in, to then get people to sign up for things, I think that would make it easier for people to look what they would like to do and how they would like to get active in the community. Have a plan.
so what if we had a community forum meeting outside of an EDC meeting, in December?
Early
Yeah.
December?
Or late November before the.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the holidays.
Yes,
December
is tough.
December is tough, but it's like we're at the end of October,
I
so
know,
we're running out
I
of
know.
time already.
We need a community calendar.
I think one thing we can definitely work on while we figure out when the next meeting is to put that constant contact together, to get all of us in contact in general, and that way when the survey is ready from Barry and Grace,
We start there.
it's easier to disseminate it because we can send it to all of the, all of the leaders that we've spoken with tonight, in addition to the leaders of the other groups. Push that survey out, and then while that's, percolating with our audience, we have another meeting. So I think we should
Yeah,
time it
so-
with the survey release.
Yeah.
Right, so with the survey release,
Or do you want another discussion with this group so that we can narrow down the survey to make sure it's effective? Because I know we never got to our last question, which is sort of, what's the one question you want to ask?
I was gonna put that, I was gonna make sure that got, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
I
an
would say we
important
probably-
question.
We probably don't all need to come back together to inform the survey itself. And I love the idea of the community leadership forum, having a little bit of a moment to itself, and then we can bring some of that data in. But if we do want to close with that question, or, and I just want to put this out to everybody who's listening out in the world right now, we would really, really appreciate, Grace and I are gonna take probably the next month or so to put together a survey that will go out to businesses. And Linda, thank you. You just pointed out we need to focus on economic development, bring new business to town, bring new foot traffic to town, come up with a marketing plan. And this I see as sort of a fundamental piece of how do we do that, because we go out and we find out what people want. So one question that you would ask the stakeholders, let's just say this is your moment to have input into what's going on to stakeholders. And we can talk about that now, although I know, Sue, you respectfully want to be respecting everybody's time. I can put my email, is that something that I can do, into the chat?
Yeah.
And folks can send me an email, and that'll get to me and Grace. At first, we thought this might be dangerous to get 100 new questions in, because we really want to be respectful of business owners' time and have a usable survey. But our suspicion is there's only going to be a couple of themes that come through. But we want to make sure that what we get back is usable to you all. And so your questions are important at the design stage. So.
And to Linda's comment about marketing, we definitely at EDC recognize that we need a marketing plan to market the town. And we're actually working on that right now. Hopefully in November, we'll be talking with a couple of firms that will be bringing us some proposals. And we hope to get them a marketing plan and an implementation of it going before spring. So that is absolutely in the works, Linda, thank you for bringing that up. But and our focus is economic development, but we also see the tie-in from the nonprofits, like the parade, let's say, like Heritage Days, that bring all those people to town. So we wanna help grow that as well. Okay, is there? So what, I can't, now, are we meeting again, or?
So yeah, I think that's the thing that we need to establish is when do we meet again? And I think as we're all discussing with the holidays and things coming up, I don't know if we should
push it or put it in December.
So you said the survey's gonna take a month or so
Well, the survey's gonna take a month or so to go out.
to go up.
And then for results, I think that realistically, giving time to develop and then go to business owners who have better things to do, let's be clear, then it's going to be a little bit of time. I just would say that December always hits much harder than we like to think.
Yeah.
And January is a time for a breath, and I would put in for that, and it's not gonna step on the toes of survey results in January. I don't believe. Does that make sense?
So we're thinking to meet with this group again in February? I just feel like it seems so far away.
No, I should say that in order to meet
Yeah, sorry.
prior, we're not worried about,
the survey.
we're not worried about taking up the whole meeting with the survey before then. So if we meet in January, we can talk about what we're, continue the conversation from then.
Does that work for everyone? Setting something up in January, and then maybe in the meantime, we'll set up the constant contact via email so that we don't lose track of the momentum of this conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because we're not sitting in the same room together. I'm not great, I don't know anything about constant contact, so if somebody.
Jane.
I know Jane, but I feel bad, we keep like volunteering her for everything. But I think getting that central sort of email listserv together would be really helpful so that we can keep continuing this conversation, start getting that community calendar set up, because those are things that technology-wise we can set up relatively quickly, that we don't have to wait till
Yeah,
January
and then
for.
actually, maybe if we start the constant contact, at least amongst this group, then people can forward it to other people.
Yeah, and then we can just kind of keep adding, I
And
guess.
maybe we could forward it to someone at town hall, who could forward it to all the boards and committees.
The only thing I don't know about is like FOIA requests and things like that, like at what point does this become public information that, you know what I mean? So like, this is a public meeting, this is part of the EDC.
Yeah, okay.
So we have to be cognizant, maybe we should talk with Karen
Yeah,
and the town, just to make sure that this is all on the up and up when it comes to public open meeting law.
In my knowledge of constant contact is more of it being an email system that you push out information, not necessarily a shared
right, it's not.
Slack where everyone's communicating, but maybe I don't know it
We
well.
were able to use Slack for the DI committee, but only for a depository of information. Like just put
No
it-
conversation.
No conversation, no dialogue.
Okay.
So if that's what it is, just putting information, you need to adhere to the open meeting law to actually have conversations and discussions within the committee. But I think just to use as a calendar or that should.
Okay.
But in terms of it as a medium, I don't know well enough to know that it has a forum feature.
I don't either, which is why I think it would be useful to sort of chat with someone about the tech piece of this.
If it doesn't, I mean, I think finding, there is a barrier to entry on Slack, but I think it's, it's not terribly difficult. Just clicking the link and having the software download on your computer and then it's there. I don't know if it's the best place either. Like you said, there's 1,000 of them, so.
But maybe the new communication person at the town could be the person to talk to and say, what's the best means of just communicating with the town and the boards.
Yeah, just to connect us all together so that we can coordinate. Her name is Kathy Regan.
Her name is Kathy Regan, right?
Yep, but she's only part-time as
Yeah,
well,
I think
so.
I invited her today, but she had a good, she had another meeting.
Well, okay,
Again,
so
with the conflicting meetings.
the library's gonna kick us out.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. We can adjourn this meeting at 8:19. Would I make a motion to adjourn? So moved. All those in favor?
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and thank you